Are you having difficulties figuring out which chords go with a melody or song? You're not alone. I'm going to show you how to find the right chords step by step. This is going to be fun. Stay till the end. I've included some extras that'll make it worth your while. Let's do this. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a melody that most people recognize. It goes like this. Now, here's a hot tip that took me a long time to figure out. It's really helpful to record the melody, even if it's just on your phone, especially if it's something that you made up. The first step is to figure out what key you're in. This is critical. I'll play the song and then go through the bass line and go up and down by half frets until I figure out what note sounds like the home. Once I find out what I consider the home note or what feels like home, I'll play a scale on that note. For this melody, this is the home note. I'm going to start the scale right here. Easier to play. It's a C scale, and this is in the key of C. Now, this is also the time to determine whether it's major or minor. Normally, I'd play a major scale and a minor scale and see which one fits better. If this is new to you, or if you just like some extra help, I'll include a link to a whole lesson on finding the key. Step 2 is to write out the chords that are in that key. Here are the notes in the key of C. Now, you'll notice that below, I've written out the chord that we can make from each of those notes. We'll create the chords by using that note and 2 other notes. To get the 2 other notes, we'll just skip every other note. For example, the first C chord is made of the C note, we'll skip D, the E note, skip F, and the G note, C, E, G. Those are the 3 notes in the C chord, or C triad. That means a simple 3-note chord. The D minor chord is D, skip E, F, and skip G, A, D, F, A. Now, try the next one with me, the E minor chord. We'll have the E note, got that one. What's the next note? Skip a note, F, and then G. So it's E, G. Now skip another note, G, A, and we have B, E, G, B. Good. Here's a little quiz. Tell me the notes in the G chord. Okay, we got G. It's a little tricky. What's the next note? G, B. And what's the next note? We ran out of notes. Well, you just start over. So we got G, A, B, C, and you go back to the beginning, C, D, G, B, D. For the next step, it really helps to not only write out these chords for that key that you're in, but also write out maybe the 3 notes that are in each of these chords, because we're going to need that information. Step number 3, we're going to match the melody notes to the chords. In other words, we're going to look at the melody notes and play chords that mostly have the same notes in the chords, or sometimes there's a chance of creating some tension that resolves to that chord. Not sure what I mean. Let's start with just finding the notes in the chords. So here's the first notes. The first part was G, G, A, G, then a C note, and to a B. Now, those first 2 notes are what we call a pickup into the measure. So it's da, da, and the strong beat is right there. The strong beat is on that A note. It's A, and then resolves to the G. You can feel that kind of tension where it's A, G, da, da, and that's the start of the next measure. Da. We've got G, G, A, G, C, B. So we're starting on the G note, and the chords that have G in it are the C chord, right? It's C, E, G, the E minor chord, and then we've got the G chord, 3 chords. Now, another thing to consider is that at the very beginning of a song, a lot of times they start with the same chord that's the key. So in the key of C, that would be the C chord. So we'd probably give that precedence. Let me try that. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that kind of sounds right. But let's try E minor and see what happens. Da, 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 da. Could be. And then G. Da, 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 da. Considering all things, the C sounds like the best choice there because we're in the key of C and you kind of want to establish that key. C is the best chord to do that. Now Now we need another chord right there. I can feel it changing to the start of the next measure. Consider the phrases. Now that was a phrase that I play at first. Da, 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 da. It's kind of a complete musical idea. You can kind of tell by the words, but musically is what I hear. That's a complete phrase. Da, 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 da. That came to a resting place. Da, 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 da. Da, that's the next phrase. So in the beginning, try to just come up with roughly one chord of phrase and give priority to the 1, 4, and 5 chords in the key. Why, you might ask? Well, those 3 chords are the main kind of skeleton chords of the key that define the key. You could play a lot of songs with just those 3 chords. C, G. That's the key of C, and it defines the key of C. Those 3 chords make a nice little motion from the home chord to the F to the G, which creates tension to go back to the home chord. And you feel like you're back home. So you can do a lot with that. Then you can always add to that and add more interest. So we've got the C chord. C, and it goes to a B note right here. You can hear a change at the end of that phrase. I'm going to look for chords that have a B note in it. What do we got? E minor has B in it. E, G, B. The G chord has B in it. G, B, D. G, B, D. And I guess that B diminished, we're probably not going to use diminished chords. So let's start off trying the E minor. Let's see, we're going to go C, C, C. Now to the E minor. And let's try the G chord. Yeah, I like that better. At least my ears are trained to hear that as more natural for this song. But it's a choice. I mean, if this was an original song and I want something a little more dramatic, that E minor could work. We're going to go with the G just to keep going. Now, the next phrase. I hear the same pattern. Stay on that chord. And then change at the end. And we're going to a C note. So we've got the C chord, right? The F chord and the A minor chord. C, F, and A minor, let's say. So kind of here, it's probably going back to the home chord because it's like, yeah, kind of repeating that phrase. But let's try the F. Well, it's a sound, it works. It's part of the chord. If it's part of the chord, it works. It's a matter of personal taste at that point or what you're trying to imitate. Let's try the A minor. Could be. And here's the C. Yes, that sounds more natural, considering, again, I already know what the song's supposed to sound like. So far, we've got to the G, and we're on G now. And back to C. Now, next phrase. So we've got a G. We've got the E, we've got C, B to A. I saw a couple of notes I know are in the F chord, the C and the A, or it could be A minor. So let me try that. We're starting on C here. So I'm going to stay on the C chord because that's G, E, C, right? I want to stay on the C chord. That's notes all in the C chord. Now I saw B, A, no A minor, right? B and A, no. B and A is not A minor. Let's try that F chord. It's the 4 chord, by the way. Ah, I hear it. It's that same kind of resolution like in the beginning. It went to an A and then dropped down to the G note. This is kind of the same sound. It's going from a B to an A. Yeah, that F sounds right there. And it's the 4 chord. So see, now we've got the 1, the 5 chord, and the 4 chord. Let's keep going to the next phrase. So we've got F. I'm still on the F chord. Then E. Over to C. That sounds like a C chord, right? E and C. to the D there, a change of chords, I'm thinking that G, right, the 5 chord again, and back to C. By limiting it down to the 1, 4, 5 in the beginning, it kind of sorts things out. You don't have to go through every single chord. And, if you just can't work it out with the 1, 4, 5, just know that in the next step, you can start filling in some of the other chords. So far, we were able to pretty well work it out with the 1, 4, and 5 chord. So let's do a quick recap. We start on the G note and go to an A note, which is, we know it's going to resolve down. I'm going to play the C chord. Right? Kind of a tension and release there. And then here comes that next chord. We're moving over to the G. Next phrase. D note. And now back to that C chord, C note. Here we go. Next phrase. We need the C there. And we're changing here. We got that B resolving down to the A. Whoops, we gotta get the B. There it is. Now, back to the C chord. E note, C note. So we're gonna go to the D note, and from the G chord to the C note, C chord. And that gives a nice finality, feels like you're home. Yeah, we ended on the chord that's the same as the key, the C chord. Document your work. I know this might sound really obvious to a lot of you, but I lost a lot of tunes just thinking that I was going to remember everything from one session to another. To start with, write the chord progression on paper. Now, you can keep it really simple. You don't have to make an elaborate chord chart. As a matter of fact, I usually keep it pretty rough. I just want to write it as quick as I can so I'll remember it, but not stop my creative flow. Another great practice is to go ahead and play the chords, record what you play, and then sing or play the melody on your guitar over the recording. That way you can kind of refine things a little bit without having to play both parts. And finally, when you get it to where you think you're pretty comfortable, or if you're going to take a break for a long time and maybe days and not come back to it, record the whole thing so you don't forget what you did. There's a lot of easy ways to do this nowadays. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, GarageBand is on every device, and you can record one part, listen to that part, and record the other part over it. It's kind of fun. I use the PC a lot, so I'm used to using either Audacity, it's free, or Cakewalk, it's free. And again, you can record on your computer both parts. Now, the system I've outlined will give you a good framework for writing chords to any song or melody that you want to. However, it is a skill, and like all skills, you get better with practice. One of the best ways to get better at this is to listen to songs and write down the chords to the songs. Now, start with simple songs. Don't pick an elaborate song just because you like it. Go for simple 2 and 3 chord songs, and as you get better, add more and more complex songs. Also, go to the internet and look up the sheet music, even just a part of the song, and see how you did. Another thing that will help you tremendously in this area is learning more about music theory, especially about chords. I've created a video that'll explain more about how chords are constructed and how they relate to scales. If you want to get better at putting chords to melodies, this is a must-watch. I'll see you over there.